What is up, Wicked Turtle Nation? We just wanted to let you guys know that Wicked Turtle Network has decided to join the Raise Rebellion as brand ambassadors for Raise Energy Drink. Raise Energy gives you fresh, and that stands for focus, recovery, energy, stamina, and hydration. With zero sugar, absolutely no crash, electrolytes, and BCAA aminos. I encourage everyone listening or watching right now to raise up and join the Raise Rebellion yourself by going to your local GNC, vitamin shop, or even online at repsports.com and order yourself some Raise energy drinks or other athletic supplements in bulk. And when checking out, use the order code WICKEDTURTLE for a 15% discount. The website and order code will be in the description of this cast. What's up, divers? How are you doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Duke's Dive Podcast. There's a lot to catch you up on this week, a lot of awesome television wrestling to talk about. But first of all, I want to talk about some stuff that is happening in our sphere, the Smart Mark Alley Duke's Dive Rope to Rope Entertainment sphere. First of all, Frontier Pro Wrestling. The second conquest of Frontier Pro Wrestling will be happening on Saturday, October 1st at Big Wheel Roller Skate Rink, 3226 North 5th Street, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. All seats are $20. The doors open at 6:30 and the bell is at 7. You're going to see your usual Frontier Pro Wrestling faces and lots more. You're going to see a lot of great wrestling, and you're going to get an action-packed card for sure on that night. So October 1st, if you're around the East Stroudsburg area, go ahead and hit up Frontier Pro Wrestling at the Big Wheeler Roller Skate Rink in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Team JD Binghamton Wrestling Convention. I won't get too deep into this one because we spoke pretty in depth about this one last week, but Team JD is bringing a wrestling convention to New York with Excite and Team Rope to Rope Entertainment under one umbrella at the Bulldog Sports Complex. The doors open at 5:30. The bell time is at 6. First row is $60, second row $40, third row is $30. General admission is $15. You can get your tickets at www.imwithdavis.com. Don't forget, there's going to be people like Brock Anderson, Arn Anderson, Dango, Julia Hart, and many, many more. So go ahead and get your tickets now. The early bird stuff is very, very limited, and after the posting of this may very well be done. But other tickets do remain. Remember, there's things on that website where you can enter to be a guest commentator, a guest ring keeper, several other guest spots for that evening available at www.imwithdavis.com. Check them out, Team JD on Facebook and other forms of social media, Twitter, Instagram. So check them out, get your tickets. If you're in the Binghamton area or close by enough to get there, go ahead and get your tickets for October 15th. Now, next up, I wanted to talk about the fact that one of my favorite wrestlers did confirm he's going to be taking some time off, and that's Malachi Black. At a wrestling show he had where he was wrestling an up-and-coming, very hot star right now, Kid Bandit. He did mention that he was going to take some time off. He did confirm an AEW exit, and, he had said a little bit after this match with Kid Bandit, and then afterwards put a post on social media diving a little bit deeper into the subject. Like I said, he did confirm the time off, he did confirm the AEW exit. He's taking some mental time off, or some refreshing time, some time to set himself back, whatever he's going back to, or just to set himself healthy, mindset, his body. And he said this is not goodbye, this is see you later. So my many well wishes to Malachi Black. Aleister Black, excuse me, sorry about that. Like I said, hopefully, maybe he'll go back to AEW, maybe go back to WWE, I don't know. But many people, of course, are trying to, or are, of course, making this brand related, WWE versus AEW war related. You know, I just hope he sets back on the right track, gets himself where he needs to be or wants to be mentally, healthily, you know, healthy spirits, mind, body, and then do what he loves to do, you know, enjoy life with his wife, enjoy, you know, performing, and have fun doing it. The only thing I guess I could say is I like the name Tommy End. Was one of my favorites when he did that on the Indies, so I'm gonna make my shirts relevant again. So I kind of hope he'd go back to the name Tommy End, but you know, it ain't my choice to make. Well, I like either or three of the names, so whatever really don't matter to me about stuff like that. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start talking about some weekly wrestling that the old Duke watched. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in no particular order, I do have these matches that I've deemed noteworthy and of the week going on, and I've thrown in several retrospective matches here from the 20 years ago almost at this point throughout. So be involved for them, be ready for them. Let's dive into this week's wrestling. We're going to open this up with, on Monday Night Raw, Finn Balor defeated Matt Riddle. Refreshing to see Finn win on television. Continues the Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins feud, which is always good. And, Finn Balor on the top of his game and on Monday Night Raw. Yeah, just love to see it, hopefully get that strap back on him, not like I'm really big on, a guy's made it because he has the strap, or, you know what I mean, it's the end-all, be-all, but, just going back with Finn when he got that strap and he was, stripped of it due to medical reasons, being injured and such, and then you turn around and, he's been, time after time of almost getting there, but not getting there, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like be the time to give him some heavyweight title time at some point down the line here. I know we got some contention with that coming up, but yeah, we'll talk about when we get there. Also on Raw, Johnny Gargano defeated Chad Gable. Pay-per-view quality match with no training wheels on them for two names that are not used often in this way. And of course, Rebel Hearts is back, so we gotta love that. I love that, Johnny Gargano, Rebel Hearts. So that's also been popping off on social media, on TikTok and stuff like that. So the music's back. The song we all know and love, Rebel Heart, making its comeback. Next up on AEW Dark Elevation, or I forget if this was Darker or Dark Elevation, but Danhausen had a very good match with and defeated Pretty Peter Avalon. Nice win for Danhausen before Dynamite. Both guys are underrated talents in my opinion. Very cool match. Now this one was on AEW Dark. Matt Hardy defeated Angelico. Love Angelico's new theme. Good to see Hardy get a win on his redemption arc story heading into Dynamite as well. Next up here on NXT, we're moving on to Pretty Deadly defeated the Creed Brothers in a steel cage match on NXT. It was a great steel cage match, strong first defense for Pretty Deadly. This also continues the Creed Brothers falling out feud, so I enjoy that, so I like to see where that's going. So yeah, good match, strong first defense, and makes sense with the Creed Brothers getting screwed out by the member gone rogue situation here, as we got NXT next up on NXT, we got Cameron Grimes and Joe Gacy defeating Tony D'Angelo and Stax. I'm interested in Schism's story here, and Joe's interested in teaming with Cameron Grimes. Now, are we going to see Cameron Grimes eventually fall in line, or are we going to see a nice little feud here with Cameron Grimes and Joe Gacy? Going back to the Indies, we're going to see like a going back to both of these guys on the Indies, I'm sure they've met up at least at some point. If not, man, that's crazy. But you'd think they'd have to have met up on there and had some good one-on-one. So eventually, either way, if he goes into the group or not, and either he battles him or doesn't, I feel like this is going to be some good storytelling going forward here. Next up here, we had a title match. We had some real title match excitement with Solo Sikoa defeating Carmelo Hayes. It was an interesting win for television wrestling because now we get to see the North American or the Street title on SmackDown with Solo, and you kind of wonder, will eventually we see Carmelo up there shortly as well on Raw or SmackDown? So not only are we going to have the North American Street title on Raw and SmackDown, we might have also Carmelo Hayes. And the first defense of this was on SmackDown, so like I said, it's really cool to finally see that. I'm hoping that, honestly, in a perfect world for me, you got 3 brands, NXT, Raw, SmackDown. I would say that each one would have their main heavyweight, man-woman, tag team man-woman, and then you have whatever you want to call it, mid-titles that could go from all 3, and those titles would, in my opinion, be the North American title, the Intercontinental title, and the US title, being able to be swapped between all 3 brands. So, in my opinion, that's the way that would go. And then, like I said, then you see an awesome defense of that on television. That first defense with... Well, we'll get into that when we get to it too. So, next up, we move on to Dynamite, where Jon Moxley defeats Sammy Guevara in a match. This is the secondary bracket. This is getting Jon Moxley to go head-on-head with whoever wins between Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho that later on that night for the AEW Heavyweight Championship title. This was a good match for, you definitely seen a lot of Sammy's old tricks and stuff like that, and of course Ty Mello tried to get involved, but they were thwarted, so it was good to see that. I do like Sammy. I'm not exactly sure what the future holds for that young man, where he's going, what he's doing. I'd have to say that he has a pretty strong friendship with Cody Rhodes, and as well as Fuego del Sol too. So it's kind of interesting that, I don't know, but he did lose the match to Jon Moxley, and then on Dynamite upcoming this week, he will face Eddie Kingston. So it's kind of interesting to see where the story goes with Sammy here. And I'm not one to follow the vlogs too closely, but there's supposedly been some hints on the vlog and some social media posts by Sammy Guevara there that things are about to shake up. Next up, we had Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeating Jay Lethal. Definitely cool to see him get a win over a guy who's been on TV for like the past at least almost 2 decades. Definitely a very experienced veteran guy out there, and awesome to see Jungle Boy continue on his singles path and get some notable wins under his belt doing so here, leading up to that big one-on-one with Christian, obviously, when both competitors are healthy and well. Next up, we had Swerve in Our Glory defeating the Lucha Brothers. This one would have been a down for me, honestly, if I was giving them ups and downs. Could have been better if it was later on in the timeline as a champion versus champion thing to test the mettle of the tag team champions versus the trios champions. But hopefully down the line we'll get a direct rematch of this, or to where it's tag team, champions, trios versus tag team champions with no titles on the line just to prove mettle. But yeah, it wasn't bad, but it feels like they kind of like shoehorned the title line, the AEW tag team titles in there, when they could have just done this match and just, if Swerve in Our Glory defeated the Acclaimed, I'm kind of hoping they don't, coming up soon here. I'm hoping we definitely get the Acclaimed as the champions when we could have gotten that one all out, but I digest. We move on to the main event of Dynamite, where Bryan Danielson defeated Chris Jericho. You know, obviously, that this means Bryan Danielson will face Jon Moxley for the AEW title on this week's upcoming Dynamite, pitting Blackpool Combat Club members against one another. So that's going to be honestly interesting to see what happens there, what goes on with them. If they can, they say they can fight and go back to business as it is, but seeing it and doing it are two different things. So, like I said, that's definitely going to be pretty interesting to see what goes on with the storyline there. And of course, where's MJF going to be after this, and when is he going to get his upcoming title match in against who? Next one up here, we have a retro match. I won't say too much about this. You'll have to go check it out on YouTube for free. It's on their Impact Wrestling channel. And that was the 2006 Final Resolution match where AJ Styles defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. The only thing I really got to say is I've never seen Hiroshi Tanahashi this young, and I do believe they said he was on his first year or so, or very young into his career at this point in time on 2006. So, me, I love to go back and watch stuff, and Impact is great for that because they're always constantly uploading either full matches or full on pay-per-views every day, every other day on their free stuff. I wish they'd get a little bit more on the Ultimate Insiders. Of course, the back library isn't that much better on Impact Plus, but I'd hope one day that the Ultimate Insiders got to the same level at least as Impact Plus. Again, I digest. I'm off course. On Back to Reality, on Impact, Speedball Mike Bailey defeated Mascara Dorado. Another awesome X Division title defense. Impact Wrestling. Speedball Mike Bailey basically picked up the ball for not picked up the ball, but, continued the forward momentum that Trey Miguel had as the X Division champion, so it's when Trey stopped, when Trey became, it was like banger after banger, and then Speedball Mike Bailey picked up the championship, and, nothing skipped a beat. Still banger after banger. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we had on Impact, we had the Motor City Machine Guns defeating the Good Brothers. Match that should have happened years ago, man. Very, very, very good match. It definitely seemed like the Motor City Machine Guns were working a little more roguish this time to take on that win. They were acting more like Bullet Club members than the Good Brothers were, honestly. Next up is the G1. You know, the G1, it kind of mirrors the fact that also we have, you know, of course, on the G1 we're talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I'm talking television, New Japan. So whatever comes up on Access on Thursdays weekly, and I know the fact that that situation with New Japan and television, I'm weeks behind. I'm pretty sure that the G1 is either over, or just about over, just right about there. You know what I mean? But this was the ending of both these respective blocks, to where you had Tama Tonga defeating Jay White, and I couldn't tell you the entire history here, but I know that there is a lot of history going back to where the Guerrillas of Destiny were kicked out or left the Bullet Club. So there's tons of animosity, tons of history between Tama Tonga and Jay White. Tama Tonga goes on to be in the final. I think they said it's a, like I said, I'm not very, very, very versed on New Japan Wrestling, but I think he goes into a final 4 for the their heavyweight championship title. And Okada then defeated Lance Archer. Now, Lance Archer more focused and definitely even more vicious on this one than I have seen him, and of course he's also going to be involved in a revolver situation. Multi-man match coming up at the Grand Slam. Is that what the new AEW shows? I do believe, where that Wednesday and Friday this week, special Friday Rampage 2 hours, where you're going to have the AEW heavyweight titles crowned. So that is also going to have It's also going to have Lance Archer on the card. I'm sorry I got off track. But that is the Duke's Dive for you. Next up here, another retrospective match. No Surrender from 2005. We had Christopher Daniels defeating Jerry Lynn. Samoa Joe on that same card defeated Chris Sabin. Very good stuff. Like I said, I love to go back on Impact Wrestling, so I throw some of that in here on the weekly dive from time to time. I mean, it was part of my weekly wrestling intake, was it not? So, the special ones I throw in there. Currently, I'm watching AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels from Unbreakable 2005. And, next up, we're going to be speaking about SmackDown. Ricochet, with another good television win, defeats Sami Zayn. Another high-profile win for Ricochet, continuing also the feud with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, which is honestly, in my opinion, the hottest feud going on television right now. Next up, we had Bayley defeating Raquel Gonzalez. Hey, baby, Bayley is back. Ding dong. Next up, we had that Solo Sikoa first North American Street Championship title defense, and he did defeat Madcap Moss in a very good match, which showcased that Madcap Moss is very technically gifted. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about Rampage. Darby Allin defeated Matt Hardy in a very good match. Move his story a little forward a little bit here, and also Matt Hardy's too, his redemption arc story as well. What's going to go on here? Has he gotten beat to the point where he's going to, end the redemption arc story? Or what's going on? You're going to put him in a self-to-wear situation next week where he's going to face someone even bigger and tougher and meaner, and they're going to put an even bigger whooping on him? I don't know, man. It's just where the story's going, but I'm intrigued, obviously. And last but not least, for the Ring of Honor not the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, the Ring of Honor TV Championship, we had Samoa Joe defeating Josh Woods. Josh Woods is a very, very, very gifted guy. I have a long-standing hatred of the guy because, back in Ring of Honor, he defeated some of my, the favorite indie guys going into there, what would be Facade. He defeated Facade, then he defeated Tony Deppen, but yeah, very, very gifted, but it was awesome to see him take a loss like that because of him beating some of my guys up, so. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Duke's Dive podcast. This week I want to give a shout out to Bob Culture podcast. If you don't listen to that guy, you definitely should be. Probably a lot more informed than I am, and a lot more entertaining sometimes too. So go ahead and listen to that guy, Bob Culture podcast. I'm going to try to throw in some podcasters in my area for the upcoming couple weeks here as a shout outs section at the end of my podcast, just as a way to recognize the other the other talent in the game here in the podcasting wrestling world. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Duke's Dive. Thank you for listening to me this week, and I will catch you next week.